What is up, everybody? It is Chris and the Commander Crew coming at you with the Deck Tech Quick Take with Midnight Hunt Commanders. On this episode, we have Leinore, Autumn Sovereign. She is a 0/4 human noble for 2 green-white. She has the ability Coven. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature you control. Then if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, draw a card. The flavor of this card is what makes it so unique. With the last Innistrad storyline, we find Avacyn has perished and we no longer have to protect the humans. Through this, we find humans taking each of their own unique abilities to come together to defeat the werewolves that threaten their existence. With Leinore, we are given the new Coven ability. It's pretty awesome. At first glance, this may seem a little bit underpowered, but it gives such depth to the story. Leinore is here to give hope to the human race to ensure a future victory from their efforts. Humans are offered lower power and toughness creatures, and with Leinore, it exemplifies a different range of powers to come together for their advantage. With Leinore, they are bringing witches into Innistrad, and the Coven shall bring upon great strategies. A Coven is a group, or simply a meeting of witches who work together to spellcast. Often this can include 3 witches, a maiden, a mother, and a crone, each together representing different stages of a woman's life, which in this case is different powers. I think with Leinore, they have great flavor with this, and at first it may seem like an underwhelming ability, but there's a lot of humans out there, and human tribal is a thing, and with Selesnya, we even have a sub-theme of +1/+1 counters. This is pretty awesome, pretty excited. Like I said, we are doing a human tribal with a +1/+1 sub-theme. Similar decks to have focus on this, and to have basically some guidelines, will be Hamza Guardian Arashan, Shalai Voice of Plenty, Rick Steadfast Leader, and Maja Bredikar Protector. Being already in Selesnya, these give a great baseline of where to go through. They focus solely significantly on +1/+1 counters and the overall human tribal. With Leinore, we're going to use those synergies together to gain our advantage and lead the humans to a victory. Now let's go over some cards that I would include in this deck. First, there's Luminarch Aspirant. 1 and a white for a 1/1 human cleric. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Very similar to Leinore's ability, but this allows us to have 2 triggers to be able to get even more advantage even more quickly and efficiently. Swarm Shambler, single green for a 0/0, enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it, and whenever a creature you control with the counter becomes a target, create a 1/1 green insect. The better ability on this is pay 1 and tap it to put a 1/1 counter on Swarm Shambler. This gives the option to basically adjust the overall power on this creature throughout the game. Mana Gorger Hydra. It's a 1/1 Hydra with Tramp, but whenever a player casts a spell, you put a 1/1 counter on it. Mikaeus the Lunarch, X and a white for a 0/0 human cleric, enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it. You may tap it to put a counter on Mikaeus, or you may tap it, remove a counter from Mikaeus to put a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control. Basically, this can overall buff every single creature in a single activation. Renata Call to the Hunt, 2 green for a star 3 demigod. Its power is equal to your devotion to green, so the power may not be too high, but its ability reads, each other creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. This can potentially lead to overall creating a good structured path of different powers. Next we have Arcus Acolyte, green and a white for a 2/2 human cleric archer with reach and lifelink. It has Outlast for Selesnya, which means pay Selesnya and tap it to put a 1/1 counter on this creature. You may cast Outcast only as a sorcery. The benefit of this is each other creature you control without a counter on it has Outlast. So potentially, if you need to manipulate the counters on your creatures and get the right power out there, you have this ability to activate on your turn right before combat to get that draw effect. And then there's Good Fortune Unicorn, 1 green-white for a 2/2 unicorn. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on that creature. Very similar to Renata. It's good to have multiple abilities to basically build the overall power to our liking. Champion of Lambhold, 1 green for a 1/1 human warrior. Creatures with power less than Champion of Lambhold's power can't block creatures you control. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you put a 1/1 counter on Champion of Lambhold. This is great because 1, it's got synergy with being humans, it's got synergy of the 1/1 counters, and this potentially can help you win the game in a single swing. Definitely a card to keep in this deck. Now, if you're playing counters, you gotta include the Ozlov, a single generic. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put the counters on the Oz. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, if the Oz has any counters on it, you may move those counters to a target creature. Basically, you don't have to worry about losing your counters because the Ozlov will capture all of those and keep them a little stored bank to help you later on. Any deck that's playing with counters, you definitely have to play Cathar's Crusade. 3 white for an enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Then this stacks. 1 creature, 1 counter. 2 creatures, now that first creature is going to be a little bit bigger now, but it just stacks so you can basically have different powers very quickly and very efficiently. Now, if you want to decide how many counters you want to put your creature, we have things like Stonecoil Serpent X for a 0/0, read trample protection from multicolored, enters battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it. Or even walking ballista, XX for a 0/0 construct, enters with X counters on it. Pay 4 to put a counter on it, or remove a counter to do 1 damage to any target creature or player. This is double value because you can add counters later on at any point, and we remove them to help remove certain things. Next, since we're putting humans at the forefront of this overall deck, let's go over some great humans to include with this deck. First, we have Thalia's Lieutenant, 1 and a white for a 1/1 human soldier. When it enters the battlefield, you put a 1/1 counter on each other human you control. And whenever another human enters the battlefield into your control, you put a 1/1 counter on Thalia's Lieutenant. If you're playing human tribal or any case along those lines, this is an absolute staple. Being able to buff your entire team with a single creature and make him larger later on definitely can help out. Odric Master Tactician, 2 white for a 3/4 human soldier with first strike. Whenever Odric attacks, and at least 3 other creatures you attack, you choose which creatures block this comp and how those creatures block. Since we're going to be swinging in potentially a lot with this commander, this allows us to basically pick and choose how our opponents block and how we attack. Mentor of the Meek, 2 and a white for a 2/2 human soldier. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 1 generic, and if you do, draw a card. Since pretty much all the humans are very low power, you can potentially get this to go off with every single creature. So being able to have the ability to get paid a single colorless for every creature for a draw is pretty awesome. And auto include if you're playing humans or just simply green in general, we have Avacyn's Pilgrim for a single green 1/1 human monk, taps to add white. It's pretty awesome because pretty much a lot of the mana dogs only tap for green, this taps for white. Frontline Medic, 2 and a white for a 3/3 human cleric with Battalion. Whenever it and at least 2 other creatures attack, creatures you control gain indestructible. But it also has the ability of sacrificing to counter target spell with an X in its mana cost unless its controller pays 3. Battalion is a great ability because we want to swing in to kill our opponents with combat damage. This gives us the ability to have that little extra protection of indestructibility on our swings. Thalia Heretic Cathar, 2 and a white for a 3/2 human soldier with first strike. Creatures and non-basic lands your opponents control into the battlefield tap. This can definitely slow down our opponents because a lot of people are playing non-basic lands and we all know our opponents are going to be playing creatures. Having them into the battlefield tap can definitely slow the opponent down to let us swing in for our victory. And then we have Sigarda's Heron's Grace. 3 green white for a 4/5 angel with flying. You and humans you control have hexproof. That's pretty awesome right there. This is basically the previous human tribal standard. Pay 2 generic, exile a card from your graveyard to put a 1/1 white human soldier creature token onto the battlefield. This allows us to take the cards in our graveyard that we have no value with and create value out of them. Sigarda Heron's Grace is definitely the angel that we need to help bring our humans to victory. And that is my quick take on Leinore Autumn Sovereign. Again, Coven may seem like it's underestimated ability, but don't underestimate that additional draw effect. Being able to draw a single card every single combat and move a counter around can be serious value. Anytime you have the most draws, you have the most advantage in a game and you are far more likely to win. I'm definitely excited to see how they bring the witches into Innistrad and how they bring this human tribal to a whole new level. Now, how would you build this deck? This is going to be a precon, so I can't wait to see what they put in this deck. Now let me know how you'd build it. Put your comments down in the comments down below. Please remember to hit that bell notification for future videos, like and subscribe for future videos. Again, my name is Chris and the Commander Crew. Thanks for watching. Peace.